Congressman, great to see you. What's the mood there today?
Well, we are excited about the great work of the Arizona Senate to demand election integrity. But there's also troubling news coming out of the Biden Justice Department, Dr. Gina. Actually, the Civil Rights Division is trying to threaten those in Arizona who are working toward this audit to determine whether or not all of the ballots actually counted were intended to be cast. It's really important people understand the difference between a recount and an audit. A recount merely ascertains whether or not the ballots that were submitted were tabulated correctly, whereas in an audit we can actually decide, hey, was there someone who never intended to cast a vote, but maybe their ballot was picked up in the mail or in some drop box or in some other fraudulent way and then cast as if it was legitimate, lawful, and legal. And if this produces evidence of systemic fraud in Arizona, it is my expectation that we will be on to Georgia and Pennsylvania and Michigan to ensure that in elections that are coming up, that we actually have the verification and the ID requirements in place so that the right winner is ultimately taking the oath of office.
Right, because even though people are so fired up about the next election, and I think if the election were to happen today and we had an honest election, there's just no question this is an America First country. But we're also very concerned about these audits. Do you think we can even move forward? Can we have a 2022 election with any real success without first having a successful audit?
Well, we need a successful audit, and then we actually need the audit to be able to produce policy reforms. That's why I'm so proud of my state, Florida. We've actually strengthened identification requirements, and we've reduced the opportunity for fraud in the mailbox. You know, people forget the 2020 election was so aberrational. It was the first time in America's history where the mailbox turned out to beat the ballot box. And so now we want to make sure that we don't have millions of unaccounted for ballots swirling around the system. So the audit's important, but then we have to have the follow-through like we've seen in Florida, like we've seen in the state of Georgia, where actually they're trying to clean up their elections and get them in the right posture. And the good news is it's very doable. I mean, I remember the hanging chads in Florida. I think they were cutting open alligators and finding votes for Al Gore back in the early 2000s. But the good news is that if you get the right people in place, if you put the right laws in place, then we can have elections that are trusted, and that is essential to having a healthy representative government.
I'm curious, Matt, because I always wonder when the woke are really going to wake up, right? So I wonder what kind of people you're getting. I know people flock to your rallies. You're a firebrand. People love to just to hear what you have to say, even if it's just dinner. But I just wonder, what are you hearing from people? Are you seeing any of the people who maybe weren't as supportive of conservative politics before, but now realize that we're on the side of honest elections? Because we really are. This should be a bipartisan issue, but it really has become about Democrats, dishonest election, Republicans, honest elections. I mean, unfortunately, that's where we are in America today.
Stacey Abrams and George Soros and Eric Holder mechanized the laundering of ballots. They're very good at it, and they don't want the rules to change that have inured to their benefit. But I could tell you from what I see in the eyes of these patriots who show up in Wyoming, who show up in Florida and here in Arizona, they are inspirational about the future. They believe that we actually can turn this country around and that we don't have to go on the path of decline with Joe Biden. He is obviously willing to oversee managed decline of America, and we're not here for that. We're not going to stand for it, and it's my expectation that 2022 is going to be a red wave election, setting up for a return of probably Donald Trump to the White House.
And I know that we want everyone to go to these rallies and we want everyone to be all fired up, but I know you well enough to know you're giving action steps. You want these people out there working hand in hand with you to get this done. So running for local office and showing up to the rallies for sure, writing their congressmen who maybe aren't paying attention like you are. What else can people be doing, Congressman?
I think we have to look at the Tea Party playbook from 2010. We need better candidates. We need a more inspired message. We need the grassroots to show up. You know, the big tech oligarchs, they want to cancel our ability to communicate online, but you cannot cancel a rally like this. When 1,000 people show up demanding better not only of their government, but of the Republican Party, they cannot be ignored. And we have to continue to fight for those America First principles, even within the Republican Party. There are people like Liz Cheney out there who want to revert back to the old days of the Republican Party. I like this new forward-thinking republicanism. I'm a Donald Trump Republican, and I think that this energy shows that he remains the true leader of our movement.
That's awesome. All right. Congressman Gaetz, how can people find where all your rallies are? I'm sure there's a website. Tell us.
Go to mattgaetz.com/rally, and you can sign up on mattgaetz.com for regular updates. On the 27th, we're going to be in Dalton, Georgia. There's a lot going on in Georgia that still needs to be fixed. We'll be announcing other rally dates thereafter, and I'm so excited to be touring this great country with such a great champion like Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. So go to mattgaetz.com, and you won't miss any of the action.
All right, Congressman Matt Gaetz, there you have it. Thank you so much, Matt.
Thank you, Dr. Gina.